They've been good. It's good to be back down here in Arizona for spring, and it'd been kind of a while since we were able to talk to the coaches and be around and a little pushed back, but it's great to be back down here.
Obviously, two new influences on the coaching staff when it comes to the hitting. Donnie Ecker and Tim Myers. How much have you been able to really communicate with them in the first few days of camp, and what have they kind of laid out for you so you can try to hit that next level?
Yeah, I met with them pre-lockout over. I was in I'm in the Dallas area in the off season, so Donnie. I saw Donnie at the park a couple times, and then I met with Donnie and Tim on Zoom. Right before we got locked out, and then coming into these first couple of days working with them, it's been great. Adding some drills to my routine that I can use to work on, and yeah.
Has there been anything significant that they've wanted you to change or address, or has it just been? Can you kind of go into anything that they've kind of laid out for you?
I'd say nothing too specifically or different than usual. Just trying to drive the ball in the gaps in the air. Less ground balls, less ground balls. Kind of what I've worked on kind of my entire career. But just some different drills and things to work on making that happen.
Woody seems to think you're going to play a lot more outfield this year. I know you played a lot of that in 2020. How do you feel about kind of shifting around again?
Yeah, I'm excited for any opportunity to be on the field at any position. I bring all the gloves and I'm ready for whatever the team needs. So if that's in the outfield, that's where it'll be, and I'm just excited to compete and play.
You were taking the grounders at third the other day. You only played 11 games there, I think. Are you at all confident in third? As much as you are, I guess, left field and second base.
Yeah, I'm confident wherever they put me. And really just staying on top of it and staying ready. That's why I was taking the ground balls, and just you never know when you'll need to go to a certain position. So to be ready and as comfortable as I can at any position at any time, that's kind of my thought process. And I've had experience doing it in the past, so I've kind of what I need to work on and how to stay ready.
Nick, you probably answered this already, but when did they say, okay, let's go back to taking some ground balls at third base?
Really just to stay ready at any position.
Okay.
And that, I just, and really that's all it is. And just kind of the way that the schedule is during the day, sometimes it's the best that I can get, reads off the bat in the outfield during batting practice, take ground balls with the infielders, or during individual defense, work with the outfielders, take ground balls after. But just, like I said, to stay ready to be able to play anywhere.
That was the instructions going into the offseason, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Andy, how do you feel about the opportunity that is there for you this spring?
¿Cómo te sientes por la oportunidad que te están dando aquí en el Spring Training este año?
Bien, gracias a Dios me siento súper bien, me preparé bien en la off-season, tanto mi cuerpo como mentalmente, y sé que tengo una gran oportunidad, no me meto en la cabeza de tener presión ni nada, solamente salir a jugar como siempre.
He worked really hard physically, mentally this offseason to prepare for the season, and he has no pressure, and he just wants to come out and perform and play at the best that he can possibly play.
So, were you surprised to show up here the first day of camp and be the third baseman?
Estaba sorprendido que llegaste aquí y que te dijeron que iba a estar comenzando en tercera.
No, no, me sorprendí por en la manera de hold on. ¿cómo que se dice? ¿Sabes? Como que no me sorprendí, sino que estaba preparado para, ¿sabes? Para comenzar a jugar. Quiero ser parte de este equipo. Tú sabes que sé que va a tener un buen resultado este año, que tenemos la meta de llegar a los playoffs y ganar, que es lo que queremos. Pero en lo personal me siento súper bien y contento de estar aquí.
No, he prepared like he was going to be the starting third baseman. You know, that was his mentality, and he didn't think anything else. I mean, he's mentally getting prepared. Hey, we want to make the playoffs. We want to, you know, that's our job. It's our goal to make it to get the playoffs and to the championship, and that's what he was preparing himself for. He didn't think anything about anything else, but he physically thought that he was going to come in and be a starting third baseman.
And you have, since you've come here, you've hit everywhere. But there have been times when other guys, I don't overlooked, other guys have been promoted over you. You got that chance last year. Having had that opportunity, what did that do for how much you can now really grow and show them what you're capable of?
Como muchas veces te han agarrado muchos jugadores adelante de ti sabiendo que tú debes estar en línea para la oportunidad.
Sí.
Y cómo tú le has hecho eso, como la mentalidad de prepararte ahora que te están dando.
Yo creo que la mentalidad mía siempre es igual, ¿sabes? Yo me concentro en lo que es día a día, venir aquí a trabajar y dar el máximo de mí. O sea, siempre estoy positivo para que las cosas salgan bien, pero no me enfoco en lo que están delante, lo que están detrás, solamente me enfoco en día a día, venir a trabajar duro.
Yeah, he doesn't think about those kind of things, honestly. He just focuses on what he can control. Everything else is out of his hands. He just comes prepared every single day to do the things that they ask of him, and he does it the best way he possibly can.
Where did you spend off season?
¿Dónde estabas en la temporada?
En Miami.
Miami.
Who were you working out with?
¿Con quién trabajé? José Fernández y Carlos Núñez, son mis entrenadores.
José Fernández and Carlos Núñez.
What did last year do for your confidence? I mean, obviously you played a lot more second base than third base, but you kind of showed some very solid defense at second base. So what did last year do for your confidence, not only at the plate, but in the field as well?
¿Que dónde tengo más confianza?
Sí, pero ¿cómo te sentiste cómo agarraste mucha confianza en la defensa y más que la defensa el año pasado?
Yo creo que fue trabajando día a día. Quiero darle gracias a todos los coaches que me ayudaron mucho, pero fue el trabajo diario, ¿sabes? El trabajo diario y los consejos que me dieron todos los coaches y el trabajo diario me ayudó a eso.
Yeah, I mean, he was just working hard every single day with the different coaches, and he can't thank the coaches enough for them putting the time in to help him, to prepare him every single day for whatever position that we're putting him in.
First of all, how was your off season? Where'd you spend it, and I guess what'd you work on?
No, pasé los season en Tampa, donde yo vivo, preparándome para esta temporada estar saludable otra vez. ¿Sabes? Trabajando el bateo, lo que necesito mejorar para este año y esas cosas.
Yeah, he stays in Tampa Bay in the off season, so he did a lot of his workouts and hitting, working all his things there in Tampa this off season.
Woody kind of said that he felt like you got fatigued at the end of last season. That kind of caused a little bit of a skid. And he said you're ready for a full 162 this year. How do you feel going into this season, especially now that you have a lot of protection throughout the lineup too?
Bueno, primero, como siempre digo, contento y, ¿sabes? Excited por lo que viene. Estoy preparándome cada día para jugar 162 juegos y estoy poniendo la mentalidad donde va. Y creo que voy a estar preparado para lo siguiente.
Yeah, this season he's ready to go. I mean, we got a lot more. Feel like we're more competitive this year, and he's excited. He's been working mentally, physically. He's been doing everything he needs to do to get ready for this season, and he's ready to go 162 games.
I know the Rangers have kind of revamped a lot of the mental skills and staff and all of that. Have you talked to any of them going into this season?
No, ¿sabes? Todavía así, ¿sabes? Como que empezamos hace pocos días y ahora como estamos relacionándonos, estamos viendo qué es lo que queremos hacer y trazando el plan. Pero sí, creo que la parte mental es lo primero, ¿sabes? Una de las primeras prioridades que tengo para esta temporada.
Yeah, since it's been so short and so quick, they're working on preparing for the season and whatnot. But yeah, within due time, he'll get in and start talking with some of these people just to kind of help his mental state to get ready for the season.
What is it like for you to, I mean, going, last year, with it being like you and Nate and kind of being the center, and now you're in the same hitting group as Corey Seager and Marcus Simeon. Like, what's it like being in the same group as those guys and being able to watch how they go about their business?
Creo que es bueno, ¿no? Tener a peloteros como ellos, ¿no? Cerca, poder mirar cuál es su rutina, qué es lo que piensan, su plan de juego. Y creo que eso nos va a ayudar mucho a esta temporada a tener éxito.
Yeah, he's excited to be able to be in the same group with those guys. He watches and learns and tries to learn things that their routines and to try to kind of pick little things that they do so he can kind of improve his game. And he's really excited about it.
Adolis, what was the thing at the end of last year that most frustrated you or that you wanted to work on this winter?
No, creo que este año, ¿sabes? Trabajar en lo que es la paciencia, como digo, el juego mental, que es tratar de saber qué es lo que quiere hacer al contrario y no apurarme a ir a buscar el juego.
Yeah, he was going to try to be more patient, and at the plate, so he can prepare that way better this year instead of just kind of attacking, but now to be able to see better, pitches so he can help his offense.
How have Donnie and Tim, I know it's early, we're only 3 days into camp, but Donnie and Tim working with you, how has that been?
Creo que, ¿sabes? Como dije, ha sido un corto tiempo y hemos estado como que todo muy rápido, pero creo que todos hemos estado preparándonos bien y todos estamos bien enfocados en la temporada.
Yeah, again, it's a short time for them to kind of get to know each other and everything, so it's a work in progress, but he's excited to work with them.
Yes.
Dirty brown.
Yeah. Always good energy back. Impressive.
So,
Yeah.
if you could put together a platoon at a position where one guy hit 8-something against lefties and the other guy hit 8-something against righties, would that be a nice situation for you?
Typically, yeah. It's we've as we looked into signing guys and trying to figure out the best roadmap to a winning lineup. Obviously, we have some guys that can cover both right and left, but we also have a few that actually punish one side or the other. And if you can match those two up, obviously there's guys in the league, there's teams in the league that do it really well. Getting those players to kind of buy into that and getting them for that purpose, it's pretty impactful, especially if they're versatile. They can kind of move around a little bit, and that's we look at guys, acquiring guys like that, good defenders, specific positions, but having the ability to hammer a right-handed pitcher or a left-handed pitcher, it'd be pretty valuable.
Do you happen to know any guys like that are on the market?
Yeah. Well,
personally, do you happen to know any personally?
I do. Yeah, there's a couple. But yeah, we have a few right-handed options, obviously, that hammer lefties on our roster. So we kind of wanted to do them a solid and do our team a solid and kind of match them up with the left-handed bat that can kind of complement them. So it doesn't always necessarily, and we haven't really had a true platoon situation since I've been here. We just haven't, for whatever reason, the roster hadn't been constructed that way too much. But I think there's a couple of opportunities for us to be able to do that.
The only question I'd have, without actually mentioning any names, is the one guy that I maybe looked at has only played like 20 games at third base in his career.
Yeah.
Can he play third base?
Yes, and I don't think it's going to be a situation where that's going to be the primary, to be honest with you. And this is me just saying this without really having evaluated it up to this point, but we are going to give some runway to Andy.
What's that?
To Ibanez. We all believe in him with the bat and the way he got better last year defensively. He played really well at second base, but I do want to give this kid an opportunity. I think this is a time for him to kind of maybe get that opportunity. Doesn't mean he's going to play every day. He can cover any kind of pitching. It doesn't really matter, but he's got to prove defensively that he can handle it. But at the same time, I want to help him out there. I want to give him, if we have more options on our team, from a defensive standpoint, and maybe a platoon type situation where we can complement them. Not all the time, but sometimes. I think that'll really help them. But I think as I stand now, like I wouldn't say it's his job to lose, but it's his job to lose.
Defensively, again, he played the bulk of his reps at second last year. How confident are you, playing the bulk of them at third this year?
I'm confident in the human being, and what I've seen with him, with the way he works, the dedication he pours into it, the way he improved last year at third base. Now listen, he played second base a lot, but he took ground balls every day at third. He put a lot of work into that. By the end of the year, the throwing issues that maybe we saw in spring training last year, are almost, I wouldn't say erased, but it was a much more confident, third baseman by the end of the year. And I caught balls for him every day. Just wanted to see what it looked like, see how the ball came out of his hand. You can tell when a guy throws it, when a ball hits your glove. The spin that he had on the ball, it was a lot truer. He had a lot more conviction behind it, and then it showed up in the game. But he still got to prove a lot. Like, we don't obviously want to put him in a bad situation. We don't want things to kind of snowball on him out there if he's not ready. But I believe in him. He's going to put the work in.
We haven't had a chance to talk to Doug. He's been underwater completely. I get it. But I'm just trying to figure out, if you've got basically 4 starts for these starters, this first time through, are they going to go 30 pitches or 2 innings?
A lot of them will probably go 2.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll probably be ready to go 2 innings. We didn't allow any of them really, when they first got here, to go straight into a live. We had them throw a bullpen just to see what they look like. We were like I said, I wouldn't say pleasantly surprised, but I expected more guys to need a little bit more time.
Right.
They came in ready. For the most part, almost every pitcher came in ready, especially our starting pitchers that are contending for a starting spot, or we're going to build up to be starters. They're coming in hot. So to pitch them 2 innings, I'm not stressed about it. I know Dougie's not. We got to obviously keep an eye on them and keep constant communication with our medical staff and our pitchers, just to make sure we don't put them in a bad spot. But they're all ready for it.
So, and then the plan would be 15 pitch increments, just like a typical spring training?
Typical, yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, we're not going to rush. If we don't have as much availability from a starting staff in the first 2 go-arounds, we're not going to be that concerned. It may put a little bit of heat on our bullpen, and we're going to have it's going to be a little bit different strategically, because we're going to take care of our pitchers. But it just, some guys might be put in different spots than they normally would, just because of availability in the beginning of the year. But it's much better to do that, and then we go into week 2 or probably week 3 in full strategy mode.
Sure.
So everybody's available, everybody's built up to 100 pitches or whatever it is, and then we can go from there.
And I'm not even concerned about the regular season at this point. I'm just like with that group of Howard or Hara, Treviano, Allard, Burke. We 7 guys. How are you going to find innings for those guys in 3 weeks' time to get a decent enough look?
Listen, there's nothing we can do. We're not going to rush. I'm not going to pitch a guy more just so we can see it. It's there's a schedule that they have to be on. Hitters is a little different. Talked to Corey. He was like, "What, does it make sense to play every day?" That's how he's wired. He's just, him and Samir are like, should we just play every day and just not play as many innings at times? I don't think that's the right thing, but that's just his mindset. And he's like, hey, I just want to get the innings. I need to get games under my belt. I need to get innings on defense, not just at bats. So I can do that with the position players. We're not going to rush any pitcher. If they need the 2 days, if that's the way it's structured out, that's just where they're going to be at. So some of these guys are obviously competing for, somewhat competing for the starting role, but also a multi-inning role out of the bullpen. And so we need to build these guys up so they can handle that to start the season. The relievers, the 1-inning relievers, or even 1+ inning relievers, those guys are easy. They'll be built up.
How many rotation spots are actually up for grabs? Obviously you brought in a couple of veterans, and then you have a couple of carryovers from last year who would seem like guys like Dane and Taylor who seem to have a spot, but how many are legitimately up for grabs?
You just named all the guys, right? You got Gray and Perez. They're gonna be in the rotation. You look, Dane and Taylor have kind of put themselves above the rest. They still got to prove it, though. Dane and Taylor, I love them and believe in them, but they still got to come out and prove it. So they've shown me nothing but that from from right now. So we'll keep an eye on him, but I mean, at least one. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys in contention. And like I said, how are we going to evaluate that? That's going to be the difficult part. Who's pitching well, whose stuff looks the best, who's executing is going to come down to it for all of us, and that's the discussion we're going to have. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be guys that feel like they haven't had a fair shake, they haven't had the innings, and they probably won't. And that's just the circumstances we're in. But we got a ton of depth. So whoever is that 5-starter to start the season, it may be different 2 weeks in. They have to sustain that. They have to prove that they belong in that role. So we got 5 or 6 guys. 5 or 6 guys. Sorry, Danny. It's okay if it's you, Danny. You're the only one that I don't get mad at. If 5 or 6 guys competing, those guys all go down and dominate in AAA, and whoever it is was here and struggles, it's an easy flip. So I don't want to make too big of a deal of like, hey, you made opening day, you're the 5-starter, you're going to be the 5-starter all year. That's the beauty of having depth, is that, hey, there's a little bit of like, they got to perform, and I think that's good. It's good to have that competition.
Have you entertained, you obviously did it with 2 of the rotation spots last year, have you entertained at all, just because of the short ramp up, having extra availability, any kind of a tandem role for that final
Not
spot?
really. We've considered like some of those guys that are competing for that 5th spot to maybe morph into a multi-inning role. So if that, you look at as maybe a tandem, I don't think the guy who makes the 5th. Now listen, whoever the 5th starter, even Dunning and Taylor, we expect those guys to be built up to 100 pitch guys, but maybe our 5-starter is only a 2-time through. Maybe that's the way we feel best to utilize them. That's their best way to get people out. And then maybe the guy who didn't make the 5th starter, he's now our multi-inning option that we use occasionally to come in for a starter who's only going 60 or 70 pitches. It looks like a piggyback, but it's not a scheduled piggyback.
So a 6-man would not make any sense for the start of this year, correct?
Yeah, we haven't. No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
How many? You've got a lot of relievers that are 1-inning guys. I would assume that going into the season with the pitch limits that you'll have on guys, you've got to carry several multi-inning guys.
Yeah.
More probably than usual to start.
Yeah,
the year.
I think a lot of those 1-inning guys though can be, 1+.
But you're not going to push them, are you?
Not really. Now listen, push them meaning, they are going to have an outing in spring training where they probably go 1+. They get an up, they get out there, to go back out for the 2nd inning. But a lot of those guys have starter resumes in their career, so they could be, I wouldn't say pushed in a negative way, but they could go out there and maybe clean up an inning and go back out for the 2nd inning. But that's, like I said, there's the strategy in the beginning of the year is going to be a little different for the first week, just because of the availability of our pitchers.
What looked relieved to you about Spencer Howard the other day? You said he looked relieved.
I just think everything. I think he had some time off. He had some time to really think about it. We obviously gave him a plan. Our pitching coaches did a really good job of explaining to him like what the expectations were, where they wanted to get him back to. It's still, like every player is still a work in progress, and he's probably more so than most because we just, we haven't seen him. But everything we saw the other day was a much freer version of him. You can just see there was like a weight lifted off his shoulders of just, okay, I can be myself. If it's good, if it's bad, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to move down the mound. I'm going to be athletic, and then we'll go from there. Knowing that, hey, we have to make this tweak or that tweak. That's easy at that point, but, like, to get the freedom to get back in the kid, I just felt like just him walking around, he's, like, a little light on his feet. He just feels good about himself. That's a good start from where we had him last year.